It's now 10 years since Kilkenny last played in the National Football League. They finished bottom of Division 4 that year with a scoring difference of minus 239 points, and they haven't played senior intercounty football since a round 8 defeat to Clare in April 2012. We headed to Kilkenny to find out if anyone cares about football in the county.
I'd say it's hurling first. I'd imagine it would be rugby then and soccer then.
I haven't heard Gaelic football in like 2 years, to be honest. Like, no one talks about it.
Why not?
Not really good at it, are we? No. Just not good, like. It's just boring as well.
Football clubs are very scarce, you know. It's mostly hurling to play all the year round, you know.
When you were around the county, do you ever see a game of football happening in a GA pitch?
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't know.
The hurling fraternity couldn't care less if there was no footballers in Kilkenny, because Kilkenny is hurling.
Would you like to see the men's football team back in the championship and in the league?
I don't follow much of it, to be honest with you. I follow a bit of hurling now, but I don't follow football. I wouldn't go to a football match. Do you follow me now?
Yeah. What if you were a good Gaelic footballer in Kilkenny? Move county, is that the answer?
No,
No, not at all, actually.
That's never the answer, let's be honest.
They have a football team, but right time to go, they're massacres. You know what I mean? They haven't the skills.
And do you think that they can get the skills?
Well, the right coach, I suppose, they could do it, but who's going to coach them?
This is the man that coaches them, current Kilkenny manager Christy Walsh.
There's a lot of it played up to under 14 level. After that, then it kind of drops off.
Is that because the hurling starts to get serious at that level and the hurling people won't have any of their good players playing football?
Well, you can't say that, you see. But there's probably a bit of truth in that. But I don't want to see people don't want it, and there are fellas that don't want to see football. You know, but most hurling people are like that anyway. You know, there's a kind of a snobbery attitude of, you know, the game isn't good enough for us or whatever. But I suppose there's no great pressure on them either, you know, and there's nobody. I don't know. It's just the interest probably isn't there.
Kilkenny football isn't without its accolades, but most of them are consigned to ancient history. They won the first ever Leinster Football Championship in 1888 before winning the province again in 1900 and 1911. In 1929 they beat Louth by 6 points, which was the last time they won a senior championship game. 53 years of beatings followed before they were eventually pulled out of the championship after the 1982 campaign. The National League then became their sole competition, and lopsided results got more lopsided when 4 divisions became 1A and 1B, and 2A and 2B in the late 90s. Philip Roche was part of that 1990s Kilkenny team.
My first senior game was against Kerry when I was 16, when I was in 99, so actually it was in February 99. I was marking Morris Fitzgerald. There was a neighbour of mine, he's from Kerry, and he brought me up a clip, have it on the paper. I was marking, showed me a picture of myself, Morris Fitzgerald, I was marking at the time, but the headline of the Oak was a total mismatch, like, do you know what I mean? But it was 3-16 to 3 points, like.
1999 was a league campaign that forced Kilkenny, not for the last time, to pull their team out of the National League. They returned once more in 2008, a year when they did get a win against London. But a 0% record followed every league campaign after that, with the team pulled from the league once and for all in 2012. Their sights were then set on the British Junior Championship, which they did win 3 times, and one of the players who went on plenty of those trips in the UK was Shane Kelly.
It's the novelty of getting away, like we were playing over in England, so you'd be going away over for the day and should nearly turn into a session on the way home, like. But, you know, we most of the time would be playing a Saturday match and might be leaving Kilkenny at 4:30 or 5 to go to Dublin for a flight, fly over. Sure, might be safer playing, and Leeds would be getting our breakfast over there, but there's a lot of waiting about for the match, and depending on the flight time home, you could either have time for a few pints after or whatever, or else you could be rushing to catch the flight. And
what about a few pints beforehand?
No, I wouldn't anyway. Others may have done, but I'll not drop anybody into it.
Like, we went over one day, like, and we were in getting our food before the match, and I listened. There was a couple of lads up at the bar, like, and the next time we went out, and these boys were watching me drinking, and they were playing again. It's like,
you know, there were lads drinking right before the game.
Right before the game, like, it didn't. That was the last year we were in it. Yeah, that was the last year we were in it. Like, it didn't benefit. It's just then.
That was 2019.
2019, like, and lads just didn't. You know, they said, "Here, this is just a joke." Like, do you know what I mean? Like, going over there, that, like, for that.
This is Railyard GAA Club. Located close to the Laois and Carlow borders, it is the only all-football club in Kilkenny that trains kids from under-7s right up to senior level. They are the most decorated club in Kilkenny, with 22 county titles, and their chairman is Paddy Ward.
We would have juvenile training there on a Thursday night. We go along with the ladies club and we would train everybody under 11, and we'd have between 105 and 110 kids there every Thursday night.
And Caleb Roche is one of their senior players.
It's funny enough, when you go away and you're talking to people and ask you where you're from, what's your club, and that, you have Railyard and that, and they say hurling or whatever, and they say no, football actually. And everyone kind of laughing away, but it's funny when the older people you talk to, the farther away, they know Railyard too. They were well known back, I suppose, 70s and 80s. They were very well known.
Paddy McConigley, the former Donegal wing back, has now settled in Kilkenny and is a Railyard man.
When I left Donegal, I suppose the football was kind of, from playing perspective, it was a bit, Jim McGuinness came in Donegal, and all clubs were trying to replicate this defensive system, so it wasn't as enjoyable. When I moved to Kilkenny, then it was back to 15 on 15, it was real open, expansive football.
There's no young lad, I suppose, dreams of pulling on a Kilkenny football jersey, which is a shame in a way. It's always been hurling in Kilkenny, and I suppose most lads here, their main thing is to win something with Railyard. And unfortunately, after that, it kind of dwindles a little bit.
The minors, this year, there's 3 minor games that's been played off in 2 weeks. I guess from the quarter-final right through to the final. So that's if you get beaten the first game, you have 1 game, but if you get to the final, you have 3 games. That's over a 2-week period, 3 weekends. That's it for minors. Under 15, they've no league. Under 15 have championship, no league. Obviously hurling, I understand that hurling is their first preference for most people in the county, and I get that, but there's only so many players can make a county squad. So for the rest of the people, I'm sure there's a lot of lads, young lads, would love to be fighting for a county minor football position, or county under 16, or county under 21, or county senior. But if you're missing all that development from underage right up, how do you expect a young lad that's played 1 or 3 minor games to break into your county senior team? You're setting the senior team up to fail all the time because of it.
Sure, look, the best way I can describe Kilkenny football is it's like the housing crisis in Ireland at the moment. So it's like that for years. It's not run right. So there's lads coming every now and again, they're promising the sun, moon and stars to you, but there's never anything been done about it. There's no even games development officer for football. There's nothing. The only league that have underage in Kilkenny is the under 13. After that, there's nothing. We were lucky enough last year, our minors, we put them into the Carlow League. I'm over myself, and we got 10 matches in the Carlow League. So we did, and 10 good matches, again, good Carlow teams. And from that team then, we're after getting 9 young lads that's after coming on between senior and junior this year. But they got no matches in Kilkenny last year. And if we didn't put them in, I guarantee you, we probably would have got 3 of them to play football this year. The other 6 would have walked away.
So you've literally had to move county to get matches?
Yeah, literally had to move county. We had the AGM here the other night, and the chairman was in his report, and he was saying from under 13 up last year to senior, we got 57 games, and 54 of them was in Carlow.
If you have a bad day, or you're short that day, you could end up just having 1 match in a particular age group, and it's very unfair, and that's would have been one of the reasons that we looked outside the county for league football. Otherwise we'd as well close our doors.
There's no structure. There's no nothing. They don't want it. It's as simple as that. So they don't.
While there's a feeling of hopelessness sometimes attached to being involved with men's football in Kilkenny, that doesn't seem to be the case on the women's side. Here's Elena Byrne from Kilkenny LGFA.
There is still, though, a perception out there. We're kind of lumped in with the men's football here in Kilkenny, and that perception out there is that there is no football in Kilkenny, but it's a very different story with the ladies here, very different scene, and we have at present over 1,500 members here in Kilkenny playing with us. I think looking back from about 7 years ago, our numbers have actually tripled in Kilkenny. The perception out there might be, it's obviously a big camogie county as well, but the girls here, they play both. We've loads of crossover of players, we've loads of dual players, and we support that. Back in 2007, sure, it was a huge success for Kilkenny at the time. They beat London in the All-Ireland Junior Final. We've been in Kilkenny here just trying to build back up to that for the past few years, and what you're essentially trying to do, and we started a few years ago, is focusing on keeping those girls playing at a young age and keeping them all the way up. So I think for a while there wasn't players coming through in Kilkenny because any club that was starting off focused a lot on the teenage girls, say starting at under 14. This year, for the first time, we have two county under 14 panels. We have a very strong under 16 panel. We had huge turnout for the trials for all of those county panels this year.
So Kilkenny's women's team is on the way back, and the expectation is that they will be playing National League in the next couple of years. Such a timeline on the men's side is much harder to nail down though. This year the county side season will involve playing an All-Ireland Junior semi-final on July the 8th against a British team. If they win, they will play the final on July the 10th, and that will be their year. So even compared with the pre-COVID situation of playing the British Junior Championship, this season is going to be another step backwards. Getting back to playing Division 4 football looks to be as far away as it has been at any point over the last 10 years now. JJ Grace was a player in that last league game in 2012, and he's been helping Christy Walsh to coach the team since 2016.
Look, to be honest, any of those Division 4 games at that time, they were tough. But look, we still fielded the team. Was it hard? Of course it was. But again, there's not much graph for football in Kilkenny. But I'd always say from being there over 10 years ago that the lads that were there cared and they wanted to play. So I have nothing but good memories. Were we getting some tough beatings? Of course you were.
My job is to get a team to play in a couple of months' time. The development of the game, like like any manager of any team anywhere, he's only worried about his year or 2 years or 3 years. The 10-year development plan, unless it's not I'm not interested in this. Even something as simple as cool camps. You'd see the hundreds of kids turn up at cool camps all over Kilkenny there during the summer. I don't even know, is there a football cool camp? But whose fault, is it my fault? It probably is my fault as much as anyone else's.
Why would you say that?
Maybe we don't look for it or demand it or ask for it.
Kilkenny had one win in the National League back, and I think it was again London in 2008, I think it was. And instead of building from that, they went backwards. I remember around that time we played Tipperary in the football in the league in Division 4 in Northern America on there, and never forget what they were saying. They were putting savage effort into football, so they were, and it wasn't a 1 year plan or anything like that. It was a couple of years, and they won a Munster final 2 years ago. So it was. But they were down as bad as Kilkenny. And I know, look, bigger county and more clubs, everything, more football clubs and Yorks like that. But there's no reason why Kilkenny couldn't be a competitive Division 4 team.
There is enough of football going on now or in the next couple of weeks. And I suppose somebody somewhere will have to get, I suppose there'll have to be some development plan going forward. And I'm sure it's been thought about somebody, but I won't have anything to do with it. It's not my problem, I suppose. I'd love to see it going ahead, but it's not my story.
There'll be loads of players out there, if you ring them tonight saying could they compete in Division 4, they would say yes. And for me, the only way you're going to find out is put us into us and let's see what we're made of.
The county board, obviously, do you think that they actually want football to succeed? Like people within Kilkenny who have the power, and I guess they would see their job as the hurling team succeeding.
Yes, well, the hurling team are a priority, but you could say the same below on Kerry. Do they want to see the hurling team succeed?
They probably do. In fairness, they've got a hurling team that got to a final in Croke Park last year.
But I'm just throwing that, but I know a lot of people in Kerry wouldn't want to.
I think there's a lot of people in Kerry, who would really get behind it, and even places that wouldn't be hurling strongholds would support the hurlers.
And fight a bit more now. I understand that. Yeah.
Hopefully, a county team or a panel can be formed, and we give this junior championship, whatever way it's looking, a right crack in July. But that's 2 games over a weekend, so long term for developmental, long term football, is it ideal? Jesus, it's not. But look, all I can do is wishful hope. I'd love to see Kilkenny in Division 4, but for the last 10 years I've been saying the same thing. So I do think the conversation around how do we put that structure in place has to happen, and that has to be at developmental level with the underage, and let's build up. But that's not having negative towards the players who were currently there. I would say 2 years ago, without COVID, if we had the opportunity, I'm an optimist. I would have thought we would have been competitive. But competitive to me could be different to competitive to yourself.
Yeah, there you have it. That is the state of play in Kilkenny football at the moment. We requested to speak to a representative of Kilkenny County Board, but no one was available for interview in response to that piece. We did, however, get the opportunity to send questions to the PRO of the County Board, and we got the following responses. We asked if there were any football development coaches for schools in Kilkenny. They said GPOs, of which we will have 7 shortly, coach football as well as hurling in our schools. We asked if there were any plans for underage football development squads, and they said yes, we have had football development squads and will be forming them again post-COVID. We asked about the status of underage county football teams in Kilkenny. They said they are not participating in inter-county underage competition. We asked if there are plans to introduce a football league for clubs at under 15 or minor level, and they said yes. And then we also asked where Kilkenny County Board sees football in the next 10 years in the county, and they said we have a committee currently reviewing all GAA activity in the county up to senior level in wide-ranging consultation with, amongst others, our county board, clubs, schools, primary and secondary, and Cushton and Ogue. We will await its report and then plan for the future. So that is the response from the county board to that piece.